Psilocybin has absolutely illustrated to me the limitless nature of not only humans, but all nature, all existence.
Welcome back to Cosmic Consciousness. My name is Jonas, and in this video, it's my pleasure to share a discussion that I recently had with Eric Osborne, who's the founder of MycoMeditations, a psilocybin retreat center here in Jamaica where I've been living and working for the past several months. Eric has not only done so much to bring this medicine of psilocybin to the world, he's also been working with psilocybin mushrooms for multiple decades now and is one of the most experienced and knowledgeable mushroom experts that I have the pleasure of knowing. This conversation was a deep dive into some of the magic and the mystery around psilocybin mushrooms, and we explored the idea that these mushrooms could be used as a tool for gaining new insights about life and the cosmos. So without further ado, let's get started. Eric, thank you so much for joining today. Really am excited about this, and I want to tell you how much of a pleasure it's been working here at Myco and getting to know you and learning so much. Over the past couple of years, Myco has seen around 1,000 guests come through its doors. And I'm curious to ask, like, over that time, how your perspective around psilocybin maybe has changed or evolved as you've worked with it.
It's a great question. Well, first I'd like to say it's really equally a pleasure being here and having you as part of our team, man.
Thank you.
In all honesty, I've learned a lot from you, and particularly from your work, video work, and just how really good you are at personal relationships. You really function from the heart, and that's a very powerful presence to bring into an environment like this. So
appreciate it.
It means a lot to me
so much. Yeah.
Because I've operated from the head way too much over the years, so it's good to get some heart medicine.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, how has my perspective changed? Well, my perspective around psilocybin is almost ever shifting. I mean, sometimes I think that I'm coming to a point of more distilled understanding about what the experience is, what we can do with the experience. Starting out, this was just a way to explore. I've always had a affinity for altered states, and have felt like those are some of the most effective ways to explore the nature of reality. And so that's really what I went into it hoping to find. And it's much more than that. The ability for psilocybin to have such a positive impact on our emotional states and our connectivity with each other and the world is profound beyond words. The research and what we hear coming out of the universities, while extremely grateful for that, I think it really only scratches the surface of what psilocybin can do.
Oh man, yeah, like so much of the attention around psilocybin is really oriented around its healing properties, which are unbelievable healing properties. But in a lot of ways, and this is something that I've started to see more and more, since I've been here and worked with some of the guests and had more experiences with psilocybin myself, is that the healing side of it is kind of only the beginning, because there's this whole other side, which is like psilocybin as a tool for discovery, as almost like a telescope, a tool for learning more about the mystery of life.
Well, and the thing that I'm starting to see more clearly is that the more we heal from trauma, physically, emotionally, the more we heal, then the more we're able to better perceive the world, existence, explore existence. It's very difficult to explore the nature of reality if we're still trying to kind of recover from the bully in 7th grade, or our parents' neglect or abuse, or our alcoholic tendencies or whatever the case may be, right?
Yeah, very true.
And as I have had so many extremely strange and profound things happen within these retreats and within my own personal work with psilocybin, and I have searched and searched for any type of outside evidence that can help us understand what's going on. The teachings of the ancient alchemist, Taoist alchemist out in the mountains of ancient China, they have related thus far, every single effect that I've seen from psilocybin, I have found reference to that only in these esoteric Taoist texts.
That's so interesting.
And what's really interesting to me over that is, again, you're asking how has my perspective of psilocybin changed over the years.
Yeah.
And I'm not a religious person. I don't belong to any group or organization, so I kind of refer to these kind of enclaves with a little bit of hesitance, right? Because I'm not espousing that we become Taoists by any means. But even that being said, I have always studied every sacred text that I could get my hands on, right? From Judeo-Christian to Islamic, apocryphal, Eastern, Asian, everything that I could find. And I remember in my very, very early days working with psilocybin, I want to say synesthesia, the conundrum, the inutterability of the experience, where everything is one, and that's when I say synesthesia, because I become the tree, right? But you can't put that into words. You can say that, but it's not. That doesn't give it any substance to what the real experience is.
Sure.
And the only literal reference that I ever found that even touched on that, and this was 20 years ago, was in the Tao Te Ching. The very first line says the Tao that can be named, I think, is not the true Tao.
Right.
So it's like that's whatever I share with you from my experience with psilocybin. It's not really the experience.
It's beyond words.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's so interesting how a lot of the psychedelic experience brings us back to this ancient wisdom of our ancestors, and like as the scientific research community starts to explore this stuff more and more, I think that we'll find that a lot of their discoveries are almost in direct reference to some of these ancient teachings.
Well, and I often found myself wondering if these ancient discoveries, this ancient wisdom, was actually based in direct experience with psilocybin or other psychedelic plants.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We see historically, just like that great video that you put out for Myco, the historical references to psychedelic mushrooms span from Paleolithic times to present day, and everywhere throughout. And while many of those references are obscure because of persecution due to the use of these plants, they're there and they can be directly cited. So when I have these experiences, and as I study the ancients and come to understand that the information that they have related or are relating to us is based on their direct experience and hundreds, if not thousands, of years of continual observation and documentation. It makes absolute sense to me that one of the primary tools to experiencing the self would have been psilocybin mushrooms. This amazing mystery that we're swimming in is, while we can grasp deeper and deeper understandings of it, it's ultimately just a beautiful mystery. And so we can, it's helpful, and there's value in talking about all this and kind of taking notes and learning, but at the same time we have to just give ourselves over completely to the mystery as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, no matter how many, no matter what, like as a human being, this will always be a mystery. But you just illustrated like a really incredible way in which psilocybin can be used as a tool for gaining some level of insight about how this mystery that we are relates to the mystery all around us.
Exactly.
And one other note that is really interesting to me that I wanted to bring up is this idea that you were kind of discussing earlier, but this idea of chi, right? Like the energy or the life force in the body. I've seen you more and more bring in qigong into your kind of practice, if you will. Could you maybe say some words about how your experiences with psilocybin has brought you to Qi and Tai Chi, and how those two kind of, how the psilocybin experience and Qi or Tai Chi relate to each other?
Yeah, again, it was having the experiences and then seeking the answers. And, when I say that I feel like I may have come to a little more stable ground of understanding what psilocybin does, what psilocybin is, that is kind of where I end up, is that it seems to me that psilocybin is an amplifier of this chi energy and information, if you will, energy. It's all around us. What is it? It's almost impossible to put into any kind of real understanding. But so there are certain meditation practices that I began maybe 2 years ago, because again, the teachers of these practices were the ones who were explaining my trips to me.
Interesting.
Right. They were explaining everything that I was seeing in all of my clients and everything that I was seeing in myself. And so those are the ones that I began to study so that I could have a better understanding. And from the psychological effects, from the physiological effects, into the impact that psilocybin can have months into the future from an experience, it all relates back to an influx of chi and an opening of blockages. Right? Like, again, we're sitting here, the sun is shining down this energy. The earth has its core energy. The air, there's all of these sources of life around us of being absorbed. Can you tell me, and I know a scientist, and we can talk about photosynthesis and how a tree eats light, right? But really, can you tell me how that happens? Can you really?
Anyone out there?
I mean,
you got any answers?
And again, like it's the same thing that these meditation teachers would say, is that these are the experiences that we have, and so we can know it, but we can't understand it.
Yeah. It's so true.
So people ask me, like, what's happening, and like sometimes we'll be in a session and I'm working with a new trainee or a client or whatever, and they're asking me what's happening, and I have to just say, like, that's not the right question right now, right? Let's actually not ask any questions, and let's just engage with this process, and then afterwards, then we can maybe find some words to communicate an understanding. But knowing is beyond words. Knowing is just
beautifully said.
It's just is.
Yes.
Understanding is this like parsing out with words and delineation and rationalizing.
Yeah.
And that's all fine and dandy to a point, but it only gets you so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the heart again. Coming with the heart. Like what you know in your heart, you can't describe or explain often with your brain.
Yeah. Beautifully said. There's no doubt that psilocybin and kind of this psychedelic movement is just so desperately needed in so many ways for the healing of humanity and planet Earth at this time, in this day and age, in this era. I do really believe that psilocybin represents a mental health revolution in a lot of ways. Again, I think that healing is kind of just the start of it, but I'm curious about your perspective on how you would, where you would like to see this go. Like, how would you? I know that's a big question, but how can we bring this to more people and make this experience accessible to provide the healing that humanity so desperately needs right now?
Well, first of all, we've got to demand legal access to plants. There is absolutely zero justification for any plant being illegal or fungus, period. Amen. And until we start to protest that in the streets, then we're going to be limited. No matter what, it takes time to change laws, and you cannot use this tool to the fullest extent. If there is any fear or any paranoia about breaking the law or being arrested, which I have been for psilocybin, that has got to be taken out of the equation completely. Completely. Assuming we can do that, then it's just really unlimited. The possibilities are unlimited. Yes, for treatment of depression and anxiety and kind of basic emotional trauma or very, very deep trauma, extremely powerful, extremely useful. If you don't have your basic needs met, then there's no way that you can climb the ladder of hierarchical needs, right? You cannot explore the cosmos or consciousness if you are still dealing with sexual abuse from a relative or whatever the case may be. But at those greater levels, the advancement of technology, environmentalism, understanding the living planet, being this intelligent species that has separated itself from the intelligent planet that we are made of. If we can get over that hurdle, imagine what we can do.
Well
you want
said.
to travel to space? What is it? Psilocybin has absolutely illustrated to me the limitless nature of not only humans, but all nature, all existence. And you can start to perceive of the reality of us operating on these quantum levels, that we are no further from the stars that we see at night than we are to the ground that we stand on. It is all one. And so this, unitive experience that is so often reported within the psychedelic experience, there are even levels to that, I believe.
Yeah. Interesting.
Me and my dog are one, but also me and the stars are one.
Yeah.
And then what we can't even see, right? It's infinite. It's infinite.
And that was one of the biggest and most fundamentally life-changing experiences that was given to me that I received through psilocybin, as well as some other psychedelics as well. DMT played a big part in that. But this insight, this understanding, first of all, that all is profoundly interconnected. All of us are expressions of the same underlying whole, the same unitive, life itself. Because we are all one, because we are all expressions of the infinite source of existence itself, there's something here to what we are that is infinite as well. And to me, that kind of is this idea of the pure life force, the pure awareness, that deepest essence to our being, the chi, the Tao that moves through us, that is what we are. And as I look to kind of the future of the psychedelic movement, of psilocybin in particular, that perspective is so desperately needed right now in our world.
Is that not
right?
the source of all of our ailments? Could it be? Could it be that we, by every incremental distance that we put between ourselves and the infinite, that is more opportunity for imbalance or disharmony or dis-ease to come into our being? There goes the thunder. There goes the waves. You feel it yourself. Each one of us can experience that. Each one of us can experience freedom of pain, freedom of emotional pain or physical pain. I had it yesterday. I was just meditating on my porch and, you know, eyes closed and going into that infinite self and feeling this flow throughout my being and this connection to it. And I just kind of opened my eyes as the, you know, the time was right to just open my eyes, and there were butterflies, and there was the ocean, and there was the dog, and it was all me. There was no me. It just was all. And in that moment, there's no tension, there's no pain, there's just relaxing into the infinite. Relaxing. What was it, Terence McKenna? When you jump off into the void and realize it's a bed of feathers. You know, we absolutely can let go and trust this thing. And it seems hard to believe at times, especially, you know, we're seeing a lot of social upheaval, we're going through these shifts. But it's also like this is a beautiful part of where we are in our process, and it's extremely important, because otherwise we wouldn't realize the incredible injustice that's been done.
Yeah. So true, so true. And I think that's a really, really beautiful place to kind of wrap this up on, is this knowledge that in order to progress, we first, it's kind of this paradox of total surrender to where we are, right? It's a full embrace, it's a full acceptance of life as it is, as the starting point for radical change. And that's another lesson that's come to me so powerfully, so profoundly through psilocybin, is this idea of navigating resistance as something like uncomfortable or disturbing or scary comes up in the trip, like really finding a way to engage with that in a way that I'm surrendering to it, you know, and just giving myself over to it. And once I surrender to it, that's when it starts to shift and change. It's so interesting. It's like paradoxical in a way, but I think that's something that's a really profound lesson that that's shared by the psychedelic experience, by psilocybin, that humanity really needs right now. So thank you.
Just real quick, I'd like to just, because I think this could be really valuable for listeners.
Please, yeah.
It's a meditation practice. What you're even talking about right now is this meditation practice that is primarily right now publicly is being taught by a guy, Mantak Chia. And he again comes out of this Taoist tradition, but it's called the practice of the inner smile, right? And it is basically whatever discomfort you're feeling, experiencing, you go into a meditation, you go into sit, and you will feel discomfort. And whatever it is, not just relaxing into it, but smiling right in the face of it. And when the trip comes on, this is something I have been really implementing over the last few years. You know, as the onset comes and you start to get like the fear or the anxiety, and you're always confronted with some kind of, you know, discomfort or fear or worry or whatever. And the more we can train ourselves to not only just relax into it, but to smile into it and know that it is a great teacher. It exists. All of these pains, all of this, everything exists to teach us. And the moment we can realize that and we can accept that gift, then it changes instantly.
Boom. Oh man, that's alchemy right there.
It's alchemy.
That's
exactly.
alchemy right
exactly.
there. Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much again for joining today on this channel for this conversation. I'm looking forward to a lot more conversations to come, and this has been the opportunity of a lifetime for me, really, is being here with you, with MycoMeditations, and I just can't wait to see what's still ahead.
Likewise, man. We got a great team, and we're really grateful to have you as a part of it.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks everyone for tuning in, and see you in the next video.